To me, the most beautiful word in the dictionary is tariff.
If China or some other country is behaving badly, we have things called tariffs that are so severe. We don't want your cars unless you build the factory in China. We're going to tariff the hell out of them.
The world is watching the Trump transition, but none more closely than the Chinese president, Xi Jinping. He will meet US President Joe Biden this weekend. Both leaders are traveling to Peru. Biden and Xi will attend a summit with Pacific leaders. It will be their final encounter before Biden leaves office. So Xi Jinping is hoping to secure some last-minute concessions, and this could be his last chance, really. But will Biden grant him any relief on trade? More importantly, can he? With this meeting, can Xi Jinping Trump-proof the US-China relationship? Biden and his team appear non-committal for now.
I will observe that transitions are uniquely consequential moments in geopolitics. They're a time when competitors and adversaries can see possibly opportunity because you have this change in government here. And so part of what President Biden will communicate is that we need to maintain stability, clarity, predictability through this transition between the United States and China.
So the goal is to keep the relationship stable, at least until Trump takes over. That's what Biden is expected to tell Xi Jinping. And how will the Chinese president respond? What is Beijing's game plan? The fact is that while Trump's win is a setback, it's not really a surprise for China. They have been preparing for this scenario for months, if not for years. China's plan has two parts. In the short term, they've devised some immediate steps, like projecting stability. And Xi Jinping could use the summit in Peru for this. He could make a case for China, highlight the instability that Donald Trump is expected to bring, and try to build a bigger coalition against the West. Xi Jinping has been laying the foundations for this. Last month, he was at the BRICS summit in Russia, where he took on the West and tried to rally support from the global South.
The international balance of power is undergoing profound evolution, but the reform of the global governance system has long lagged behind. We must practice true multilateralism, adhere to consultation, joint construction, and sharing in the global governance.
Expect China to double down on this message. They need partners internationally to tide over their current challenges. The Chinese economy is in a state of decline. Signs of internal strife are growing. Unemployment is rising. Incomes are falling. This has led to multiple protests. So in this context, Trump's victory could actually offer China some respite. It could distract the world from China's problems. And in this time, Beijing would try to paint Trump's America as unstable and position China as a more reliable, a more stable partner. This is being discussed as their short-term pitch. What's the long-term plan? China has armed itself with new tools that can inflict economic pain on the US. They allow Beijing to blacklist foreign companies, slap sanctions, and cut American access to supply chains. In recent years, China has passed new laws for this. One of them is called Anti-Foreign Sanctions Law. Like the name suggests, this is specifically aimed at foreign sanctions. It allows Beijing to impose tit-for-tat measures. So if the US sanctions Chinese companies, Beijing can hit back with the same force. Similarly, China has expanded its export controls. All these measures pave the path for a more intense trade war. Beijing can effectively weaponize exports. The scenarios are daunting. Imagine if China cuts off American access to pharmaceuticals or critical natural resources like lithium. Despite its best efforts to pivot, the US still relies on China for several key imports. We have some data from 2022. In that year, America imported $7.3 billion worth of lithium batteries from China and almost $7 billion worth of pharmaceuticals. These two products are among the top exports from China to the US. Even Trump's campaign merchandise was made in China, and we saw this firsthand last week. In shops around Washington, D.C., from MAGA hats to T-shirts and badges, most of them had a Made in China label. Now, Donald Trump has promised to target these imports.
And we'll also pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, meaning if China or any other country is charging us 100 or 200% tariff or tax, then we will charge them 100 or 200% tariff or tax in return. In other words, it's an eye for an eye.
China is preparing for that scenario. If Trump follows through on this threat, if he slaps a 60% tariff on Chinese imports, expect Beijing to retaliate, to take countermeasures. Although reports say it may not happen immediately, China won't make the first moves. Xi Jinping has apparently decided to wait and watch. He wants to see if Trump follows through on his threat first. And the entire situation honestly feels like a cowboy duel. Both sides armed with weapons, waiting to see who shoots first. Needless to say, such standoffs rarely end well.